I built another pair of dual decks out of my gigantic stash of Curse of the Frozen Casket. And then I also built a pair of dual decks around my almost equally gigantic stash of Legacy Lost cards. So in the next 4 videos I'll be talking about those. They'll all be in the same playlist. I'm not going to do any quote-unquote gameplay videos because I suck at them right now, and maybe someday in the future I will not suck at them. I'll read the rules and actually be able to speak to how the cards work. So I'm just going to read the ruler side of this card. So it takes red 1 to perform judgment. It gives you a little token energize, so you can, if you go second, you can play an extra red mana. It's got mana 2, so it enters with 2 mana counters, and whenever you remove a mana counter, you can produce red mana, but you can only use it on ancient magic cards. And this deck has a bunch of ancient magic cards. Then when you flip it over, to the Mars side, it's a 2000, it's a 1000 J resonator. And then it reads, it's got mana 5, so it gets 5 mana counters. And then if when it enters, you have Demon of the Crest Numblot, which I will show. Let me see if it's near the top. Let me pick it out from the pile. Here it is. If you got one of these dudes, then if you've, I think you have to yeah, so from your hand. So you have it in your hand, you remove it, put it around there, I guess, and then it gets mana 5 on top of the regular mana 5. That's how I read this card. If you know more about it and you think I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. And then it gains first strike as long as that card has been removed with this card. So if it's like this, it's got first strike. And then remove a mana counter and produce red mana. And again, just like in the front, you can produce, use it to cast, what was it? Ancient magic cards, of which there are many in the deck. So I might as well talk about Numblot. Numblot is a 500/500 2-drop. So it's pretty easy to cast. It's got swiftness, which is great. Now in this deck, this is a red aggro deck. It's got some green, but really the red aggro part is the part that really matters, in my opinion, at least the way I built it. And so you can do something like, and there's a playset of this card, which is it gains swiftness, comes in early. Maybe your opponent has nothing on the board. That would be nice. Then you play this chant and you give it plus 1000. And you smack face for 1500. That's the kind of thing that red can do in many trading card games, and Force of Will is not unique to that. So the playset right now has 1 foil and then 3 regular cards. Okay, and of course I've got the thing that would help your deck be quite a beater in the right circumstances. Okay, I've also got 2 of these ancient magic cards. And this one can deal 800 damage to target resonator, and if it was awakened, it deals 2000, and the awakening cost is 8, so it's got an alternate cost. Okay, then the way that I try to model it just for fun is with 6 red and then 4 stand-ins for green-red mana. I don't like to play too much with the dual stones that I have. So I just do a stand-in. I put in 2 Heavenly Gusts in the deck. So it's got like a 1/4 of the deck is green, just to get rid of additions. I also put in a playset of Melfi's because I wanted the mana rock aspect of Melfi. So I found that it was very useful in this deck. Very similar to Sun Wukong, of course. This is the Force of Will problem. I call it a problem, and it's designed that you really always want to put green in your decks. At least I find myself wanting to always put wind green in my decks. And this card, of course, is fantastic. It's just a common. But what's really, really good about it, it gives you a stone. If you don't have everything that's a dual stone, which I wouldn't do in a casual setting. And even after you perform judgment, and so you're done summoning stones out of your ruler phase, you can still get additional stones, and that's pretty good. Put this card in here just because it's a good critter in green, and it's got a bunch of text. All right, so one of the things that it does is when it's put into the graveyard from your field, put the top of your stone deck, one of your stones, you gain a stone when it dies. That's the bottom line. And it gets plus 400, plus 300, as long as you control 5 or more magic stones, which you probably will, given the mana ramp that I've put in the deck. And it's got a couple of abilities, so it's a really good card. Got 2 of those. Then I need 1-drops, and this is the guy that I have as a 1-drop. There's 3 of them. And it puts a mana counter on your ruler, which is very useful. And then you can remove a mana counter, and this card gains swiftness. So again, a lot of swiftness in a red deck, and that's how it should be. Then I've got 2 of this guy, which will cost 1 more for each card in your hand. So you want to cast it when it's the last card you have in your hand. And if you do, you're getting a 2-drop 1200 flyer. I think that's fantastic. Then 4 of this critter, a 2-drop 400, and if it deals damage to a resonator, it deals double. So it's got double strike only on combat against other resonators. Then 2 of this card, which is a 3-drop 800, and if a fire chant will deal damage, it deals that much plus 200 instead. That's good, and you have fire chants in here that deal damage. Then I got 2 big critters, 1 of each. 6-drop, the Ox King, 1500 with precision, so it can attack recovered J resonators. And then when a resonator that was still damaged by this card this turn is put into the graveyard, put 5 plus 100 counters on this card, so it can get pretty big. And then Fiery Chariot Red Boy, 6-drop, also 1400 with first strike. And when it enters your field, it deals 500 damage to each J resonator your opponent controls, plus an additional 100 damage for each different attribute among all wills spent to play it, which means it's going to be two types, red and green, in this deck. Then you have 4 of this Ancient Magic Chant. Choose 1, it deals 400 damage to J Resonator, or put 3 mana counters on your J Ruler. So that's pretty good. In this deck, you're trying to put mana counters on Mars like there's no tomorrow. And then the final card in the deck is this chant, which is not Ancient Magic, it's just a regular chant, Tiger Charge. It's an instant, quick cast, and you boost a Resonator by 400 for attack and give it first strike. So that's the deck, very briefly described. It's mostly red, but it's got some green, and of course the mana ramp is really important. I think in a red deck, to be aggro, mana ramping is very good, and so that's why I put in some mana ramp. And it does not really protect itself that well, and I'll keep thinking about how to make it better. All right, so that's the deck, and it's a Mars deck.